So we'll drive these posts 4 feet in the ground. We'll do all our tension wire, all our top rail, and put the wire up. We'll have a bias cut right here at the bottom of the hill. So it's not any different than ag fence. Wherever you have a severe grade change, it's best that you have some sort of a point to tie it down to. And on chain link, you've got to break it right there and basically take up a bunch of the slack, because chain link wants to tie off perfectly square. We're doing 6 foot tall fence, and 6 foot tall fence works best if we do a grade mark at 69 inches. So it's fabric height minus 3 inches is what we end up doing. I don't know, maybe you do something different.
I do all mine 69.
Yep, fabric minus 3 inches. So if you got a 6 foot tall fence, we take 3 inches off, and then that's your grade mark. So that is the deepest we can drive that and still have the chain link without having to trench it in. That's for our line posts. So if we know that, we can build everything else off of that. 69. Our terminal posts are different. So we have 2 different types of terminal posts. We have terminal posts where the fence ends, and then we have terminal posts where maybe we have a corner and we're going to go around a corner, or we have like at the bottom of this hill. And so the big difference is you have to decide early on, especially when you're ordering your product, whether or not you want to attach to the extended terminal post, or if you're going to use a corner wire arm mark where we can see it. And that usually for short people like me ends up being about 5 feet high. So down from that mark, I'd put another mark right about here, and that'd be my sight mark, so that I can sight them all in and roll them up hills and stuff like that. So those are all your marks on an end terminal post. So line 69, and if you know that it's fabric height minus 3, you can build off of that all the way up. That really, I don't know why, but that screws all the new guys up. They cannot remember that to save their life. Not sure why, but it definitely trips them up for a while. I've always threatened to make a test and make them pass that test before they can get any raises, but we've never done that. So this is going to be our intermediate post, where we're going to be at basically the toe of the hill. So we can't mark it at 69 because it's a terminal post. So we have to, anytime we're going to put, it's going to be a terminal post, we got to be at least 4 inches taller than all the line posts. That gives us room for all of our 2 brace bands and a dome cap. So the first thing we do is we put 4 inches on here. And then we add that 4 inches to our 69, that ends up being 73, 1 inch taller than the fabric height. But you have to have all this room right here. Each brace band is 3/4 of an inch, and then you need a little bit for your dome cap. Or in this case, the corner barbed wire arms are deep, and they take up about that much room to be able to get a corner wire arm on the terminals. So 4 inches works really well. I think there's some people that may do 3, but that doesn't work so well when you got barb arms. So we just do the same thing on every single fence so that it's standard.
Do you ever have issues when you don't put a line down? Like
Nope.
We show a line grade going, just so
The only
man
time
on the totem pole doesn't tip it the other way.
The only time we've ever had issues not showing that line down is on 8 foot tall fence, because it ends up being almost even right in the middle.
Yeah.
And so we put a G. A lot of times what we do is on our sight mark, because we have 2 marks. And on 8 foot tall fence, the reason that we get confused is because we have a sight mark on one end and a grade mark on the other end, and they end up being a foot apart, and people get confused about which end goes in the ground. So we put a little S that says that stands for sight mark. It's the same as doing what he's talking about and putting an arrow pointing down. But yeah, on most of our fences, they're not close enough that you can get confused. 4 foot would be another one. 4 foot tall fence. Yep. Where you've got a mark about halfway down.
It matters to what you're driving with.
Yeah. That's 6 foot tall fence with 3 foot in the ground. We don't get confused. It's pretty easy to tell if it's upside down. And then we lay them all out so that we're doing it in one direction. So you're always standing them up in the same direction. So it's pretty tough to get confused because you're working one way. But yeah, that's a good point to just eliminate confusion, because right now these 12 foot tall posts, we're about halfway in between.
Yeah.
I didn't order 12 foot, so I don't know how we got 12 foot, but we did. Hey, you want to play sword to stone? First guy can pull one of these posts out by hand wins $100. Go! So the guy from Iowa, we drove some in his hometown, and we actually were using the Evo to pull one up because we drove it a little too deep and busted a chain trying to pull it out. And it's only 4 feet in the ground and broke the chain. So,
how big a pipe?
2 3/8.
Really?
Just a line post, just like this. Drove 4 feet deep.
Jacob,
Yeah, if you can pull one of these out, I'll give you $100
Jacob Mater's,
by hand. Just
Jacob Mater's got
They
some
don't
good
give you an
videos.
Evo if you pull it out
Pipe
by
oh
pull.
yeah. And it all depends on the type of ground. The wetter it is and the stickier it is, the better it grabs. And in my area, you can drive them 2.5 feet in the ground and then still fold them over. I've got a video on our channel of me being stupid and destroying stuff, but ran over one of these posts. They just laid it over right at the ground, only driven 2.5 feet deep. But then you could go and just pop it right out the ground. Well, we're not working with reverse gravity, so that shouldn't be an issue. If we ever are, we'll have to maybe reevaluate this method, but as long as gravity still pulls down, we should be good. If you could, like I say, if you could run this over, before the ground gives way, the post is gonna bend every time. So we'll go ahead and measure. I'm gonna talk about a couple different things. So as I was driving up the hill, one of the things you have to think about when you're going up a slope is the fact that your wire grows. Because now the wire wants to, if you're square, the wire's like this, but when you bias cut it, that bias cut at an angle, you know, your 3-4-5 rule, that angle's taller. So if your slope is steep enough, like you get on a 45-degree slope, a 1-in-1 slope, you could actually use 5-foot wire and still be 6 foot tall, you know, standing plumb. So you've got to think about that stuff and leave your post just a little bit higher when you're going up a hill. Otherwise, you'll never get your wire low enough because of the change in height. It's still 6 foot parallel running this way, but once you put a post up against it running plumb, it's taller. So think about that. On a hill like this, you probably want 3 or 4 inches taller than normal, just so you got that extra. Anytime we have a line like this and we've got an intermediate brace or a turn or a pull post, we call them a pull post when it's still straight in line and you're just going up a hill like this, we're going to put a corner arm on that and then just run the wire through it and keep going. It's a lot easier rather than tie it off. And I think it looks better when all the tops are 45 degree. So the only time we'll actually use an extended terminal post is at either side of a gate and then where the fence dead ends. So we'd have these sight marks, and then all we're doing is trying to grade this out between this one and that end one, which I really can't see. Could one of you guys on that very end post maybe stick your finger straight out like that on that sight mark? Really what it matters is we're kind of coming down that hill, so we put a couple marks. See, we're almost going to be flat. Go ahead, put your finger on that. Oh no, I suppose it might be just a touch short. Looks like we got a hump there. Oh yeah. Yep. Eventually, once you get established on a slope, they'll all be straight again, but once you're rolling up the slope is when you see those grade differences. This will probably roll just like this. I probably won't have to mess with this one at all. And that one's right there. 16, 28. So we went from 15 to 13 to now we're 8. So it'll basically roll it. I'm not going to mess with any of these. I'm just going to leave it just like that, and it'll probably just curve right up the hill. I don't like, and that's the reason I don't like strings, is because strings only want to make drastic grade changes. So if I put a string on this and went straight from that post to that post, we would just have a V where we can make this kind of roll and look really good and keep our wire tight. A lot of what you see in our world is no more than 2-inch gap under the fence. Like you do an airport or something like that, or military, they're gonna say, I want a 2-inch gap, and that's a maximum. And so you've got to keep it tight, but you want to make it look good. Strings aren't going to do that for you. It's going to go straight from one point to the other point to the other point to the other point, and that's when you get that up and down. And so we don't do that. Everything that we do is eyesight, from setting post to setting the height. We just don't bring out strings. So we'll trim these off real quick. And
how do you keep the top rail on those bottoms, the caps on, if there's enough grade to where it's not flowing?
oh, they have a little screw you can self tap them on. What's wrong with that?
I didn't know if that was acceptable when you were.
That's what that hole's for. Sometimes they force us to screw those things on.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So, well, I'll show you in the barb arms. There's a little hole, and you can self-tap the barb arms on if you're having a problem where it wants to pull up off the post. Once you get the chain link on, everything's kind of working together, and it kind of holds itself down. But we've had jobs where they make us use security screws to actually self-tap those things on. That sucks. It's not cool. If I put a string here, the string would line up right here on all these posts. So when you put these on, it's offset, and that's to pull you actually see your fabric pull in just a little bit, kind of like you do when you tie off your chain link or your field fence and stuff like that. It's not actually on the face, so they offset it to the center, or not to just off the center. These are a lot lighter duty, and they're for hooking on only your fabric. The only thing you use a tension band for, which somebody called it a P, the only thing you use this for is to tie off your fabric. Everything else you're going to do in chain link is going to be done with this, and it's for holding things to the center of the post, because when you squeeze this together, it goes to the center of the pipe. That's going to be for all of your rails, all of your wires, everything. So your barbed wire is going to be tied off with these so that they're to the center. Your tension wire is going to be tied off to the center. Your truss rods are going to hook to these. Everything else uses brace bands. Tension band, brace band. People get these mixed up, and they'll start hooking on their rail ends with this stuff, and it gets kind of janky because these aren't heavy enough to hold that and hold the tension and all that stuff. So that's how you can tell the rookies. If you want to look like a professional, you use these correctly for their correct purpose. Tension band, brace band. These are rail ends. And you see they call them offset rail ends. So the whole reason that they do that is so that when you go around a corner, when you point this one up and you go around a corner, and now all of a sudden you have two brace bands trying to be in the same exact spot to line up, you can do an offset and they still line up, but you have room for your brace bands. And I'll show you that here in just a second in that terminal, and when we do that pole post down there. So you turn one upside down when you have two in a row. Or if we were just like we're gonna do there, we have two in a row, the brace bands have to be offset so we can turn one upside down, and then your rails still line up. If you go around a corner and you put that one like that, and then you're gonna end up looking like that, and that's a rookie mistake. That's a noob homeowner mistake. So make sure you use the rail ends correctly. Oh goody, they gave us hand ties instead of easy twist. Nice. Dirty buggers.
And hog ring. Always throws them in.
Yeah, don't. I said I wanted easy twist ties because I'm lazy. What do you not understand about it? I want to build fences, but I don't really want to work. Jeez.
On a 5-foot fence then.
Yeah, 4 foot. I can see over that. All right. So when we lay out fittings, on 6-foot fence, we have 5 tension bands. The only time we step down to 4 tension bands is we do 4 on 5 foot, 4 foot, and then 42 inch we go to 3, and then 3 foot we'd never do less than 3 probably. When you get into 7 foot, you go to 6. 8 foot has 6. 10 foot usually has like 8. The specs usually call for no more than 14 inches between bands, so whatever you got to do that. If you have CFS will calculate. You can tell it how far apart to space those, so it'll throw in the right amount. We don't do 3 on 6-foot fence. We don't do 4. That doesn't meet spec. That's a noob mistake. Unless you're 5 hours from home and it's the last terminal post and you're one short, then maybe you're gonna sneak it in. I mean, it'll probably be all right, as long as somebody like me doesn't come along with the car and run into it. In which case,
5 bands looks a little better.
we usually do 4, because anytime I can go 4.5 diamonds, I consider that good. That's within spec. So if you go over 4.5 diamonds and you get to 5 diamonds, you're out of spec. So, and I'll show you about counting diamonds. So when we lay out our fittings, we have 5 of those at each post. Let's see. Oh yeah, we didn't talk about 2-hole railings. We'll do that here. Oh, we don't have 2-hole railings. That's, gee whiz, it's like they didn't even follow my pack list. Oh well. That stinks.
The 2-hole's like this, but has the second hole.
Yeah, it's, well, the 2-hole looks like this, and then it's got another hole down here for your truss rod to hook into. This is what you call a combo rail end. So you can use it, because there again, it's offset, I can still use it like that and make all my rails line up. Or I can use it as a combination, stick my truss rod in here, which unfortunately I have these really nice truss rod benders that now you can't see my fancy work. And you can't see my trick, but I'll explain the trick. So that goes down there. It's like my new guy at my shop packed this thing for me. It's like, oh, that'll be okay. It's close.
That's too big. You need
2 3/8, yep. So 5 of those, and we'll talk about, we need brace bands. So it's 7. We'll see if we have enough. We'll see. Okay. Tension wire, truss rod, middle rail, top rail, 3 barbed wires. So 7. 2 rail ends, 1 for the top rail, 1 for the brace rail. Down here we have and we're gonna have to do this the stupid way, so we gotta have a truss rod tightener there, and then we'll have our brace band and combination rail end right there. So we do that at all of our, if you're 5 hours from home, the sooner you can lay out your fittings and find out how bad they screwed you on them, the better. Just saying. Ask me how I know. So we always tell our guys, get those laid out really quick, and you can find out what you're missing so we can UPS it to you. On every terminal post we have brace bands and tension bands. Big difference on a brace band is that when you pinch it together, it goes to the center of the post. These are for connecting everything, and I don't have a tension band at all. But these are for connecting all of our rails. So we use them at the very bottom. It'll be our tension wire. The next one up will be our truss rod tightener. The next one up will be our brace rail. Next one above that is tension, top rail. Then we have 3 strands of barbed wire. So it takes 7 of these on just about any fence, unless you have multiple mid rails or something like that when you get into security fence. All the nuts go to the secure side of the fence. Secure side of the fence, we're going to put the wire on this side, so the secure side of the fence is that way. All the nuts go inside, and that is just to make it so people can't easily remove them. We want them to cut through the fence rather than take the nuts and bolts off and make it easy for us to repair. Job security. So I'll kind of quickly explain what we do a little bit different. When we have the right fittings, we have a 2-hole rail end instead of a combo rail end. A 2-hole rail end has another hole down here. We actually bolt this right here and then put the tightening part of the truss rod up at this end, and that allows us the ability to tighten everything standing up. It makes it a lot easier. And then we just have 2 brace bands on that end with bolts in them, and we hook the other end of the truss rod in that end, the hook end in that end, and tighten it right here. So it's like this. I like that way because then I'm standing up, tightening everything up. If you ever need to retighten it, you can stand up. I just think it's kind of a nicer way of doing that. This is a P. Hang on. P. Is it that way or this way for you? That way. That's a P. Actually, it's a tension band. Big difference between this and a brace band, as you can see, we'll do it like this. When you pinch this one together, it's offset. When you pinch this one together, it's centered. The only thing you use tension bands for is connecting fabric. These are not used for rail ends, which are these. People like to call them cups. They're not used for rail ends. They're not used for tension wire. They're not used for anything else. They're made of a lighter material. They're not strong enough to do anything else. Not to mention they're quite a ways off the post, giving them even less strength. These are much easier to squeeze than these. So these are for doing the heavy lifting.